Greetings, one and all. This is Greg for Tesla Fan Insight. Today's talk exclusively focused on trucking and kind of what's going on there. Our focus today is the fact that there's some, I want to say, explosive news. Greetings. Please note, we can see you guys when you say hello, but I try to say hello at the end of the show rather than during. I'm going to show you the rest of our view here, but this is one of my favorite places to shoot because I love the water. I don't have a boat right now, but everybody can have a dream. We're on the Anacostia River. So I wanted to review the fact today that there's some, I want to say, groundbreaking news that's come out. Today's show is hyper concentrated on the truck and the fact that it showed up in Arkansas. And there are 5 primary reasons, but others, why this is colossally bad news for the trucking industry relative to Tesla. So just a reminder, please like and subscribe. We could definitely use help on Patreon if you're able to. $1 or $2 a month would definitely help us get the job done. I also wanted to note that any comments during or after the show are appreciated, as well as questions. So something interesting has occurred, and as you know, one of the things I like to get into is the whole investment area as well. And what's happening is that sometime in the next 6 to 8 weeks, we'll be at the 1-year mark for the new trucking and roadster facility in Livermore, California. If you go on Indeed.com, they currently have 400 job openings there in preparation for the opening of this facility. So why this is huge is that once you open a 1 million square foot facility, Tesla is going to have to produce something at that facility to pay the bills, and what that is both the Roadster next year as well as the truck. Now, my estimate / our estimate is that in order to make that facility viable, there's a need at a minimum to produce about 4,000, maybe 5,000 trucks a month. And so basically what you have is in year 1, if you multiply 5,000 times 12, that's 60,000 trucks a year. So sometime in 2019, I believe January of 2019, trucks will start rolling out of the facility. And this is hugely bad news because there are a lot of trucking companies, especially, as you know, one of my favorite companies called Cummins Engine, that really depends on long-haul trucking, etc., to really pay the bills. And the estimate from Cummins is that we're about 10 years away from seeing large enough production volume of electric trucks to really affect the primary trucking market. So my assessment / our assessment of where things are going is in 2019, we're expecting about 5,000 trucks a month to be produced by Tesla. That number is being constrained primarily because the battery packs up until mid-2019, there's only 20 megawatt hours available. And by mid-2019, Tesla will be at about 35 megawatt hours and growing as they pull towards 105 megawatt hours over the next 2 or 3 years in production from the battery factory. So what this then means is that there's a interesting challenge going on, which is Tesla could produce 50,000 trucks a year right now, or will produce that. They can produce a large number of trucks each year right now. The problem is there isn't the battery to go with that, given the other commitments. And I think this is going to change in 2019 as we get to 200,000-300,000 units of the Model 3 on the road. So what this then means is that if you're extrapolating how the Model 3 grew and how battery growth will affect this, Tesla will produce about 60,000 semis in 2019 and double or triple that number in 2020. So 2020, we're looking at 120,000 long-haul trucks that would be produced. Now, in the United States each year, about 200,000 semi-trucks are sold, and then if you multiply that by 4, I think that that gets you around the world to about 1 million trucks a year being sold, approximately. It may be higher than that. Why I bring this up is that, in theory, 3 years from now, when Tesla has, in essence, a brand new gigafactory built next to the current one, there's the battery possibility of Tesla now producing, in the range of 200,000 trucks a year. So I think this is a colossal nightmare for Daimler, BYD, Cummins, etc., because the hope by places like Cummins and Daimler is that Tesla would be delayed. Exactly. The hope by Daimler and others is that Tesla's being busy with producing cars would basically force them into waiting between 5 and 10 years before we saw a scale volume of trucks being produced. And this is where we kind of segue into the lessons of Arkansas. Now, as you know, and we're going to put a photo here, the semi was spotted in a place called, in the state of Arkansas. Elon Musk articulated a few facts about this. Number one, he pointed out that without much difficulty, or basically with an extension cord, the semi is now running by itself all around the United States to visit early adopters or early firms that have ordered the vehicle. So, exactly, Walmart is one of the entities that can be visited while there. And Walmart's CEO, for example, has put his reputation and maybe his job on Tesla's ability to produce this semi at scale. So what we're ending up with, J.B. Hunt was a primary entity that there were photos from, but Walmart is also there. And basically we're in an interesting situation where Walmart doesn't like to be number 2, and they'll use their money and power in the market to dominate something they think is important. So do not put it past Walmart to be the first company to get their 100 units of the semi-truck and possibly pay a higher premium in order to have their fleet switch to Tesla faster than anybody else. So a few things about the Arkansas sighting. Number one, there's no support vehicles for the truck. Unlike Daimler, which has a group of engineers that follow trucks, the stability of the truck allows them to now have it out there, and it's by itself unaided and performing as the numbers would dictate, and they're collecting all that data. Number two, it's a nightmare to have Tesla be able to charge these trucks as superchargers in reasonable time. So in theory, if you can get to 80% on a supercharger in a half hour, if you have 3 battery packs on a semi and you simply have 3 extension cords that hook up to multiple superchargers, in theory now, trucks can now make cross-country runs if there are if there's interest from J.B. Hunt and others to make these cross-country runs. That's actually possible right now when the truck arrives in customer hands. This is a nightmare. The reason it's a nightmare is you can drive the truck for 500 miles like other trucks, stop for a half hour at a supercharger, and then get another 500 miles. This isn't the 800 to 900 miles that you get with a traditional diesel, but this is a disaster because all of a sudden, when your diesel truck is getting 6 miles a gallon, Tesla's semi is getting 20 miles a gallon, that cost difference will make up the labor cost difference for having to incrementally make 1 extra stop to charge up. And the length of time for that charging is insignificant in terms of additional time being spent. In fact, there's time for bathroom and food for that truck driver now that makes the whole thing worthwhile. So what I'm kind of driving at here is the fact that Tesla is primarily focused, because of limited numbers of trucks initially, they're actually stuck in a zone right now where they're focused on only fleet customers. Why? Fleet customers don't need support that others do because they've built their own. Those trucks are coming back every night. They have enough vehicles to pay their own mechanics, and they only rely on popping over to our Tesla service center to have parts shipped in that might be needed for repair. So Tesla is specifically focused on these large fleet customers because the kind of support and services that Daimler and others have to provide, they don't need to, because the customers already have their mechanic base to address this. So in essence, what we're talking about here is that these trucks, the way they're being operated right now, means that Tesla is going to limit the operation to only working with large fleets who can pay a lot and have a large number of trucks and fix it themselves. But it does not preclude entities like J.B. Hunt, who run nationwide on their deliveries and not just regionally, to go after this and purchase and have these trucks in motion as soon as Tesla is able to deliver them. One other sort of niche, and I thought the most important niche that the trucks have is, for example, in the Port of Los Angeles, the biggest sort of source of pollution is all the trucks it takes to bring 35,000, or actually it might be more than that, 100,000 containers from ships in the harbor of Long Beach and Los Angeles inland to rail yards or for storage. And so what this means then is that by 2035, the Port of Los Angeles has made a decision that they want to completely move to non-diesel engines. And that's a ways out. But the other issue with the Port of Los Angeles is, unlike a Walmart or some of the other guys, the Port of Los Angeles is willing to spend $200,000 to $250,000 no problem on a truck. And the reason is that with the pollution benefits and the fact that they have a monopoly on the port, they don't have the pricing pressure that other manufacturers or other users of trucks might. And they want the benefit of the pollution reduction / noise reduction that come with these trucks. So bottom line is that it's not happening, but J.B. Hunt has articulated that drayage in the form of trucks operating in this condition is exactly where they're going to initially start using their electric trucks and then expand from that going forward. So this is kind of a long-winded statement to say, BYD is going to have to compete with Tesla, and hopefully their battery technology is up for it, but it clearly isn't currently because people are only testing it out. I was going to take a editor's break to note that we're under duck attack here. As you can see, this is one of the benefits of the wildlife situation here at Anacostia Park is one of the benefits that we get. And it's nice to see the ducks coming out to visit with us and not being intimidated because of the number of times we've done this. So what I want to point out here is Cummins is under the assumption that we're 10 years away from the transition to trucks at scale with a company like Tesla. The reality is that we're actually in a zone where I believe that we're currently about to see, within the next 3 years, we're on the verge of seeing Tesla bounce into a whole new realm, which is scale model trucks that are popping onto the roads. And I believe that it wouldn't be inconceivable for the number of trucks to double each year. So the way those numbers work in our minds is we see 50,000 or so trucks in 2019, 100,000 in 2020, 200,000 in 2021, and then I think the demand is there to jump that number up to 400,000 trucks in 2022 or 23. So this is sort of the future that I anticipate occurring. And our freight train is right on time to articulate when we should be ending our show today. It's going to be a while, so I'm glad we got it in beforehand. Please remember that Wow. Well, once the trucks are produced here, they're for worldwide shipments. So I think 100,000 of them a year stay in the U.S. and the rest go to the rest of the globe. So don't forget, do your leg lifts. Try the 5-2 diet. And I'm going to take you out with a view of the water here. And, you know, we'll catch you guys on the next show. For Tesla Fan Insight. Tschüss, macht's gut, au revoir, la hit road. Noch respect, walk good. Thank you for all of you who said hello. Not only one train, but two today at the end of our show. Thanks again and have a great day.